Hey everybody, this is Andrew Hunzicker, CPA, founder of Dope CFO. Super excited about today's podcast. We mostly interview accountants, CPAs, enrolled agents, etc. So it's great to have an actual attorney on the line and hear her experience, which is very massive within the IRS and cases and cannabis. And so it'll be great to hear what you have to go. So I'm just going to jump in and introduce you. Rachel Gillette, with partner with the firm Holland and Hart, has been an attorney for quite some time. I see you also graduated from Boulder, Colorado. I'm a Boulder graduate as well, but I got out in '86, so quite a long time ago to show my age. But so let's just jump in. Give me a little more info about your background as well, and just even how you got started in the cannabis industry at all.
Sure. So I actually got started representing cannabis businesses back in 2010. That is when the state of Colorado actually decided to regulate medical marijuana businesses, and they were going to establish a licensing program and a regulatory framework to tax and regulate medical marijuana businesses. We were actually the first state in the nation to license for-profit cannabis businesses. I don't know if a lot of people know that. We weren't the first state to have medical marijuana, but we were the first state to license for-profit businesses in cannabis. And so I was actually at a tax practice. I wasn't very happy. It was a controversy practice. And I decided that the Department of Revenue was going to be the regulating agency for Colorado cannabis businesses. And because I had dealt with the Department of Revenue a lot, I thought, well, this is a new area of practice, and I can potentially work representing these businesses. And at the time, there really weren't a lot of firms that were willing to be in this space because obviously it was, and it still remains, federally illegal. So that's changed a little bit on the firm side, certainly hasn't changed on the federal illegality side. But it was really interesting because we were literally developing a new body of law. And so everybody was sort of learning everything at the same time. So I've just only represented cannabis businesses, ancillary companies, hemp businesses since 2010.
Well, that's great to hear, and I kind of fell into it the same way in Oregon, and it was just like, oh, this is, yeah, we were kind of an early state too, and it was interesting and frustrating at the same time. And from the accounting side, oh, we don't have industry guides or gap guidance or tools or work papers or this, that, or the other. And I just started having to build things myself to serve this niche. But I also think it's been an absolute ball. And we talk about picking a niche in accounting, and we like to say this is a lot more fun than the dental niche, which lots of accountants try to go after the dentist or the lawyer niche. I say the cannabis events are just more fun.
This is true.
So that's great to hear as well. And yeah, I was aware too of the Colorado. I live in Oregon now for 10 years, but I born and raised in Oklahoma. And it was always interesting to me that where Oklahoma specifically is kind of an interesting anecdote, a very red state, very, very anti-cannabis. They sued Colorado. I remember that. And I think it was Oklahoma and Nebraska got together to sue Colorado. Probably it was football related, I'm sure, but they hated pot too. And I think last year Forbes called now Oklahoma the most cannabis friendly state in the US with almost no laws at all. So we won't dive in too deep on the state side. Let you go ahead and tell us right now about Holland Hart and your practice. You're a partner there. I know you all do an awful lot for cannabis companies. And we have cannabis owners around the US. So yeah, let us know what you do. And also I think it's multi-state. It's not just limited to Colorado as well.
So at Holland and Hart, I'm the leader of the cannabis industry group. The cannabis industry touches so many different areas of practice. So we really are a full service law firm, and we try to be able to provide whatever a cannabis business may need. So that would include everything from representation of cannabis businesses in tax matters, including IRS audits and tax litigation, but also employment, civil litigation, corporate M&A, transactional work, IP, we have a very, very strong IP practice. Gosh, I
Let me,
probably am not naming enough. We have food and beverage and FDA, so we have really a full service firm that can really help a
so
cannabis or hemp business in anything they may need.
that's awesome. And I'm going to send some business your way because, for one, I see a lot of stuff in my group because this is a new industry and there's people writing checks and there's money everywhere. I let people know, it's like, oh, you're raising money, you better have a corporate attorney involved. You don't want just, oh yeah, 3 different people gave me $500,000 and we don't even have a legal document at all, or we're a C corp and we don't have our resolutions or our consents and all that stuff, or we're starting a stock option plan, or Sally got sweat equity. And so I'm going to plug as well, and you can back this up, that I would love to send people there that, like, this is a full stop shop, but it actually starts when you're still playing with the idea and getting your license and raising $1 million or 5 million or whatever.
Right. You'll have to excuse me. I have to cough. I'm sorry.
That's okay. But
That's why I have cough drops.
and and while you're drinking, I'll just add a little more to that. So a lot of times, at least in my brain, I'm always like, well, we're accountants, we can serve clients in all 50 states and do their accounting. But if you're an attorney, you got to focus on the state you're licensed in. And so, as we know, cannabis is exploding. Of course, it's everywhere in Colorado, but let us know. I mean, you might be in New York or somewhere. Can you serve all states or most states, or how does that work?
Well, we do have a number of attorneys that are licensed in a number of different states. When it comes to IRS matters, I can represent cannabis businesses in all 50 states. A lot of, if there's state tax controversies, we could potentially represent them in state tax matters. It really just depends on what the matter is. Sometimes we may need to engage local counsel. We're not in all 50 states, but we do have licensed attorneys in a lot of states. I would say most states.
Okay, so you all will be a great place to stop. So if you are a cannabis farm or dispensary, or like many I talked to, new, yeah, get them involved early. You need attorneys on this. And it's great that you're a one-stop shop, because sometimes it is, oh, I got a corporate attorney, a tax attorney, and my cannabis attorney, and this, that, and the other. So I like to, yeah, the one-stop shop, and the same on accounting. It's easier to go with one. So let's talk about the biggies, the 280, 471, the regulations, especially. Let's focus on the federal level.
Sure.
And so as we go in, kind of what regulations, and you've seen all the court cases and been involved in them, what are you seeing kind of currently related to cannabis tax, 280 and 471? And even, we love to hear anecdotes of clients. Are they like, I know what, I'll read the court case, but then I'll talk to someone actually yesterday, like, oh yeah, but we got the IRS to relax that rule, even though it's like not in writing anywhere. So I'd love to hear your color on that as
Right.
well.
Excuse me. So I've actually represented cannabis businesses in front of the IRS in tax matters and audits and tax court litigation since 2010. So I have this breadth of experience in sort of how the IRS has approached auditing a cannabis business. And it's interesting because, and this is one of the reasons I decided to FOIA the training materials from the IRS, because their approach has really changed over time. So things that they may have focused on, like work in progress, for example, that's no longer an issue, and they've been conceding that issue in all of the audits that I've been handling most recently. So, I do have this knowledge, and this is what I love to share information with people like you in the industry, because, this is our tools in our toolbox, so we can understand, will they allow this expense? What is a reasonable allocation? If I'm a vertically integrated business, what can I put into cost of goods sold? So having that knowledge is just, a lot of it comes from just experience in handling these matters, from the exam stage through appeals, through maybe negotiating with the Office of Chief Counsel. So there's a lot to learn there. And I will say that I don't think the IRS has like a completely consistent approach, especially in the exam stage. You may get an examiner who just really doesn't understand how a marijuana business operates, maybe doesn't understand that the company is vertically integrated, maybe doesn't understand how to apply 471. I mean, there's all sorts of things. And that you have to understand they're learning too. They have
Yeah.
training, but I have all their training materials and they're not all that robust. But they don't often understand how these businesses operate. So I think, there can be inconsistent approaches when it comes to
Well,
an audit.
so that's great information. I want to focus on one thing you mentioned too. So on from our perspective and what I teach in Dope CFO to accountants around the US is first and foremost, we want to do good as close to GAAP accrual cost accounting for these clients. First and foremost, because we just want to add value to their company. We want them to be able to manage their company better, deal with investors, lenders, their board, be exit ready all the time, be audit ready all the time. And then when we get to the end of the year, yeah, we start considering tax, but et cetera. But we feel like if we do good correct GAAP inventory cost accounting, as we see in 47111, they're going to be ready for that as well. But you mentioned on the WIP issue. So from our perspective is, yeah, we're going to book lots of costs into the working process, which on the farm would be the plants growing in the ground. And that'd be work in process. And so is the IRS agreeing now that that's actually okay? And then once plants are sold, they'll become cost of goods sold.
Well, what they were doing was they were going back and in their exams, and where people didn't make WIP adjustments, they were coming in and making these huge WIP adjustments and doing it based on their little calculator and all sorts of things.
Okay.
So it was having a big effect on the cannabis businesses when it comes to audits, and it was a big adjustment. Now I understand it's a timing issue, but at the same time,
Yeah.
it was certainly leading to big adjustments in an exam when you haven't been addressing it the entire time. So in those cases where the IRS came in and said, oh, no, you need to have WIP, they've decided that that's not the right position, and they've conceded those issues in tax court and appeals.
Now, another side of that, should these farm owners and dispensaries and whatnot, should they be worried? Well, one, I think I'm trying to which case it was. We saw a pretty big, I call it the crappy accounting penalty. Here, your accounting is horrible. I don't care about did it right or wrong. It's just unsupported, and we're slapping 80 grand of fines on and interest and penalties. Will they, if say a cannabis farm is doing accounting really well and they're doing their best and they're making reasonable allocations and they're counting inventory and they're doing all the things they should be doing, will the IRS work with them more on things like penalties and interest and be more flexible, I guess?
Absolutely. So if you do, I think the key is to at least make an attempt to comply with the guidance that is out there regarding 280E. And if you do that as a business, typically, if you do end up with some adjustments in an audit, you can potentially get your penalties waived. And that's the case in a lot of my cases where there was a reasonable attempt to comply. You're going to be okay. The other big issue that cannabis businesses have is with substantiation. They've attempted to comply with 280E, but they don't have anything to substantiate their expenses, and so that can also be an issue.
Huge.
So you have to make sure you keep substantiation. You're able to substantiate and give a good basis for whatever allocation methods you have, for example.
Yeah.
So those are the two biggies that I think you have to look out for. But definitely the IRS is reasonable in my experience as far as conceding penalties where the taxpayer made an attempt to comply.
And so we preach this all day long to businesses. It's like, look, accounting and tax is really, really important. I know many farms and dispensaries, they are so focused on, I've got the best brand and product and marketing, and they think, oh, accounting and tax just isn't important. It actually really is. And I also tell, I don't care if you're a product manufacturer, you're doing a new indoor farm or outdoor farm or chain of dispensaries, you're talking 5 to 10 million almost on day one. You need a lot of money. So you just don't need to cut corners and find a bookkeeper for 400 a month that doesn't have any idea how to do this kind of accounting.
Right.
Because what we do is build a permanent audit trail every single month. And so whether the IRS shows up or you just want to do a loan or whatever, your stuff is ready yesterday tick mark, tied out. We're talking source document to the transaction, to the GL, to all of our reporting, and it's ready to go. So they don't have to worry about that stuff. And I think, yeah, they will, it, it will come back to benefit them, I think, even just doing it correctly. Because another issue I have is if, say, they go to sell or do an exit, and people look into the hood and they're like, oh, you're have all these risks under 280E and you're not substantiated. It's just going to hurt them in the long run. I see that's our next question as well, which I think we hit. What should accountants focus on to ensure that they are cannabis compliant? You said make an attempt. So I think I'll let you say it, but is it just, yeah, making sure they're really trying to follow 280E and 471 and not I talk about that, try to beat 280. It
Yeah, I
becomes
mean, I
clear
think they
when
have
that,
sorry, I think they have to have like a fundamental understanding of what is or isn't a cost of goods sold, right? Under
yeah,
Section 471 and the regulations. And you have to understand the business, obviously. You're going to have a different approach if you're just a reseller as opposed to being a vertically integrated company, as opposed to just being a manufacturer or a cultivator. So the impact of 280 is going to change depending on your operations. But you do have to have that understanding. And I think you also have to understand or be able to guide your client as to what might be their 280E liability, throughout the year. Because what I
yes,
see as a very common problem in this industry is that accountants sort of, and I'm not blaming any accountants or bookkeepers, but it's really the client who's like, oh, dumps all this stuff on their accountant, right before tax time and says, here you go, tell me what my tax liability is.
yeah,
And then the accountant says, well, now that we apply 280E, you now owe X. And they
yeah,
haven't planned for X. They thought maybe we weren't making money, we're operating at a loss, but 280E creates this income that then is taxable, and they haven't prepared. And so we see a lot of cannabis businesses who end up having tax liabilities that they can't pay, or cannabis business owners that have tax liabilities that they can't pay, or they didn't pay enough estimated taxes throughout the year if it's a flow through. So that's a big issue in this industry. And I think you can mitigate that by working with your accountant and making sure that your accountant is keeping you apprised of what might be your liability all along throughout the year. And then also have the client understand what is or isn't a cost of goods sold, what is or
yeah,
isn't disallowed under 280E. So like, I always look at marketing dollars, for example.
yeah.
Marketing is the
Wow.
big one that's disallowed always, right? So you have to understand that whatever dollar you're spending on marketing is going to cost you a lot more than what you're actually paying for, because you're going to be taxed on that as if it's income to you. So just having
Well,
that basic understanding is very important, I think, for the taxpayer.
yeah, so that's great. Exactly what you said. So a couple of quick points on that too. So again, that's why I would project to any cannabis owner out there, get yourself a dope CFO accountant, because that is exactly the problem. They've got, oh, well, I've got a construction company too, and Sally has done my tax return forever. I'll just give her everything at year end, and she's doing other industries, doesn't even focus on this. You need someone, yeah, month in and month out. This is not a year-end type of issue to deal with. And we, as part of our package, we'll do a rolling cash forecast, which will include what we think is going to be owed in tax as well. And we just keep reiterating, yeah, you've got to have a lot of capital to run these businesses. But then even on top of that, so yeah, have an accountant, have a good person, do accounting correctly, do 280, do your cost accounting the right way, have the tools to do that. But even then, you get clients, okay, we're going to use you and we're going to do that right, but we're going to trick the IRS. I have this single little dispensary down on the corner here, but I've got 14 different business entities, and I'm going to shift my costs all around everywhere except that dispensary. And then maybe I'm going to sell $5,000 of t-shirts through the year, and I'm going to put $1 million loss on that t-shirt division and all these tricks. And I say, gosh, you shouldn't get into cannabis if your goal is to trick the IRS. You should just try to build a good company. You'll get
Well, the
rewarded.
other thing they need to think about is that case called alternative healthcare, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yeah.
Alternative healthcare is the case of essentially a licensed California cannabis nonprofit collective having a management company that was commonly owned, and basically everything's being sort of commingled. The employees working for the management company are really doing the selling and buying and selling of the cannabis. And the court essentially said, well, we understand we have to look at the corporate form and we have to analyze each of these entities separately. And we understand that this entity has a license to buy and sell marijuana, but the management company actually was buying and selling marijuana too. So apply 280E to both of those entities. So you have to be very careful about affiliated entities taking otherwise non-deductible expenses that are really for the benefit of the cannabis company and then moving them to some other entity. That isn't necessarily going to work.
Yeah.
And believe it, they're going to audit all of the affiliated entities, especially if there's common ownership. They're going to already have done their investigation to figure out what other entities are involved or might be owned by the owners or shareholders of the licensed cannabis business. That's very common.
Yeah, and I saw this issue come up as well, that maybe some investors don't think about that. Oh, they put in 10 million into that LLC, but now the IRS can look, oh, Joe over here is worth $1 billion. Forget this LLC. Let's go after Joe and see what he's got under the hood. So it can leak that way as well. Let me ask real quick, and this relates kind of two questions together, is we talked about preparing our clients for success. I know a biggie that is around, and it's one issue dealing with at conferences with owners. They're always just, before you even talk to them, they're spouting a court case at you and how they're going to, and so everyone's talking about 471C, and we can just go to cash method and put everything, last thing into, including marketing, into cost of goods sold. What I've heard, that's not a great idea. I don't recommend it, but I don't, first of all, I think it makes the accounting of your business horrible, but what are you seeing or hearing on that side of things?
Yeah, so I mean, this was, back, I can't remember when it was released, but the TIGTA report came out in March 30th, 2020. And that's the Treasury Inspector General's report on the growth of the marijuana industry. And they actually mentioned 471C. They said, we don't really know of the impact of IRC 471C on cannabis businesses. Potentially, it's a way for cannabis companies to avoid the impact of 280E by essentially putting everything, and this is for small businesses under 25 million, but by essentially putting everything in the cost of goods sold. And that report actually came out prior to the regulations that came out. And so, everybody was sort of like, wow, loophole, we can just stuff everything into cost of goods sold and now we don't have to deal with 280E. But I agree with you. I don't think that's the right approach. And since then, we've had the regulations come out. And, essentially, I don't think the IRS's position is that, yes, you can just put everything into cost of goods sold and we'll call it good and we won't have any challenge to that. We obviously don't have any court cases yet that deal with this issue, 471C. But I think it's a good idea to take a close look at the regulations and the position of the IRS because I do think that they have a different interpretation of what the impact is. Although I still think it's an open question from a legal and a tax accounting perspective.
Side. And so, yeah, if those aggressive people are out there, another one I'll give you that's kind of a current topic that we've seen as a kind of a sub niche was created and born and grown rapidly. We've got two ancillary companies that don't quote touch them, don't own the plant, but so one is labs, and I think everyone said, okay, labs are not 280E. We've got publicly traded labs. They test the pot and give it back. They're not facilitating commerce. Well, they might be or not. But then the other big one is delivery companies. And I know it's funny, even here in Bend, Oregon, Dutchie was founded by a young entrepreneur, and it's gotten very, very, very big. I think it's over $1 billion valuation at this point. And so we have delivery companies everywhere. And so it comes back. So 280E says the word trafficking. And I talk about what does that actually mean? I think someone pointed me in the Champ case, they kind of
Mhm.
define trafficking as buying, or you have to have ownership of the pot. And then I say,
No,
well, that differs from the criminal
yeah.
code, maybe, where trafficking, if I'm just taking pot from the buyer to the seller, that sounds like trafficking to me. So what is your take on that? Because we get this question all the time. I've got a delivery company and they're saying no way 280 applies. They just transfer
So,
it.
so these cases actually, I think, turn on the facts of what actually is occurring. So you're right that in the Champ case, the court very clearly defined trafficking is, they went to the Webster's dictionary, essentially. It's buying and selling, engaging in commerce, buying and selling. So I know you mentioned title to the cannabis, and what's interesting about the alternative healthcare case is that was argued by the petitioner in the case that I don't have title to marijuana, so I'm not trafficking. But really what they're looking at is the company buying or selling cannabis? Are they buying or selling? Now, the criminal definition of trafficking, I think, is very different. But the
Yeah.
tax court has been clear as to what is the definition of trafficking for the purposes of 280E, and that is buying and selling cannabis.
So
Um,
if you're like Uber or Grubhub and you just grab the pilot dispensary, take it to Sally, do you think they're pretty safe and just ignoring
well,
280 altogether?
it depends. So again, it's the facts of what is actually really occurring, right? Where is the money going? Who's charging for what? What's on the receipt? You know, are we saying, hey, I only get $10 for the service of driving
Yeah.
versus I actually run the cannabis transaction and then I remit whatever is not
Yeah,
my
that's a
service fee to the cannabis business. That can be very different because then arguably you could say, well, you're just you're just kind of in the middle, but you're still buying and selling cannabis in that case.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and that's where I would lump distribution and wholesale. They are buying and selling cannabis, and yeah, it could be the same deal. There's that model of, yeah, I go grab a bunch of joints from a few dispensaries, and then or whatever. Yeah, do I collect the money, the $2,000, and just keep my $10, or do I just get? I never see the money. Yeah, so I think that's a good point. And so I think those delivery companies out there that really are just a service. They just have a couple of cars and they're driving and pot back and forth. They want to make sure that business will not work if they have to deal with 280E. I don't think. Um,
Well, I agree with you. I don't think there's any profit to be made in that case if 280E applies. But remember, we don't have any case law on this. We don't. I have
brand
yet
new.
to see an audit of a delivery company by the IRS. I'd love to see what it is like, and I certainly would make the argument that the delivery company is, depending on the facts and
Yeah.
circumstances, of course, is really just providing a service. But again, this is where agreements are very important. So what do your agreements say? What does the law say? Like in Colorado, for example, the delivery company cannot by law take title to the property. They cannot buy or sell cannabis. All they
Well,
are is transporting. And
so
and so I think all of those factors come into play.
come into play. So okay, that's definitely great to know. And then you mentioned another thing, having contracts in place or whatever. I would just reiterate that. So part of our onboarding is we're collecting all these documents and leases, insurance policies, partner agreements. Oh, wait, the company owes my wife 10 grand or whatever. So make sure you've got signed legal documents. And if you need board minutes or whatever, get your legal house in order on top of your accounting house, because I see all the time. I'm like, well, where's the lease? Or, oh, don't worry about it. That's my aunt or whatever. I was like, get these documents and get them signed. And whether it's a note payable or the LLC document, we've seen tons of LLC documents that are signed by 2 out of the 5 members or whatever.
Right, but it's also important, like, what do those documents actually say and what
Yeah.
services are being provided? Because you could have a management service company that really is consulting and providing only services to production, right? And saying, I'm going to help you cultivate, I'm going to design your grow facility and whatever. And all that expense may be fully allowable in cost of goods sold as a cost. But if your management service agreement says, I manage your marketing, your whole business, I manage everything, you can expect for the IRS to come in and say, well, look, all of those fees that you paid that management service company, we're going to disallow either all of them or a portion of them because they're not related to production,
Related. Okay.
either
So yeah.
directly or indirectly.
So it's making sure they're set up right, which again, this is a great intro into kind of, we'll wrap up here of, yeah, get someone who knows what they're doing. And again, same with accountants. Why push people that are in my Dope CFO program when clients come to me? Same for attorneys. Yeah, you can get some generalist, but yeah, I would rather see them come to someone like you that is in neck deep into this industry. So tell us where they can reach you, and we will definitely have this in our links as well.
Yeah, so I'll tell you where you can reach me, but I want to mention one other trend that I see in the industry that I think is really important, and that is the audit of cannabis businesses for compliance for 8300 filings. So that, I'm sure you're aware of this, but your clients and everybody who's watching needs to be aware of that, because I'm seeing big issues with cannabis businesses not being aware of what are their 8300 filing requirements. And we are seeing a lot of audits over the last few years of those companies, and that can lead to substantial penalties and problems.
Those penalties can be huge, can't they? And even, could that even be jail time?
Well, it's especially concerning, and it's especially a problem with, for example, distribution companies, which may be doing a lot of cash transactions. And if you don't collect the data correctly, it's going to be really hard to come into compliance or to fix your non-compliance. So definitely want to be aware of that issue too. But anyway, going back to where people can reach me. So my email is rkgillette, and that's GILLETTE at Holland Hart, and that's HART.com. Please feel free to shoot me an email. Also, my direct to my desk number is 303-295-8241, and people can give me a call. But I love representing this industry. I love the people in it, and I love working with accountants as well. So, and I do think it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. This has been a great resource. If you're also listening and want more information, you're an accountant, about the Dope CFO program, you can find us easily at dopecfo.com. Same with business owners. You can reach out and I can push you to the right, either accountant or attorney as well. So that's awesome. And I'll let you get the last line. Any final advice on helping us keep our clients out of hot water?
Definitely good accountants are very, very important. Good bookkeepers, keeping good records. And then, I always say ounce of prevention, pound of cure. Really getting an attorney or somebody that can guide you, who has an understanding of 280E and how it applies, I think is important, especially when you're a startup and you're starting your business, because there can be a lot of implications if you do it incorrectly, or if your agreements, or if you provide services in a certain way. I mean, there's all sorts of things that could impact your 280E, flow through liabilities or tax liabilities. So
that's a great point. And so, well, thank you so much. And yes, let's get the accountant's attorney involved early. You will not regret it if you're really trying to create a legitimate business. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.